Welcome to the Occult Rejects. This episode, we got a bunch of rejects and two I guess guests slash co-hosts joining us today. We got Teresa, the spiritual gangster, with us today. We got Thrash. We got my boy Jin the Ninja. We got Mike, and I guess as a surprise co-host, we got my boy Taylor from FlowState. For the new listeners and people who haven't heard about you yet, can you please let everybody know what your deal is, Taylor?
Absolutely. I got two channels. My main channel is FlowState. I do mostly open panels, although there's a variety that goes on. My new channel that I just started is the Powdered Dusty. I started that because I'm tired of YouTube continuing to fuck with my monetization. So,
yeah,
good to meet you. Salute to the chat. And
yeah, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely go check out his channel. It's really interesting and actually very entertaining. So go check it out for sure. And now finally the guest, Max from American Zombie. Thank you very much for coming on, man. I've been very excited to have you on. We already have another topic already in mind to even have you on for. This wasn't even the original reason you were supposed to come on. So this is actually very exciting. And I had caught my man doing this live. And I was like, oh man, this is actually like really interesting. And I'd really like to have him cover this on the Occult Rejects. So we got him on for this. And Max, for anybody who doesn't know who American Zombie is or who you are, could you please let everybody, I guess, know a little bit about you and what your show's about?
Sure, thanks. I'm a researcher and an author. I have a channel, American Zombie channel on YouTube, working on that book. I wrote the other book, Secret Words, that I sent to you about anagrams. Yes. And I've been doing research on ancient civilizations, archaeology, since like the mid to late 90s. And that led me into, conspiracies with food and school and the rabbit hole, so it just kept going deep. And American Zombie, I started noticing there weren't too many people to talk to. You talk to somebody that might be zombified in one area, but aware in the other. So it made me chart like a spectrum. And yeah, hopefully the book, I'll have it out either this month or beginning of the new year. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been selling the PDF you gave me for $5 a piece for early release. But thank you for finally coming on. And it's amazing how I had another guest that had told me about this channel. That's how I even ever found out about it. So I mean, it's wild how that worked out. So I guess, again, Max, when I had caught you live, from what I got out of it, it was pretty much like you were looking at artifacts or old art or drawing and stuff that tends to depict stuff that might be of the future or just wasn't supposed to be around then, I guess. What made you, was that something you stumbled upon, saw it a couple of times and then started looking? What made you even get into that, actually?
Well, in the mid 90s, I was carving, because I also do art. So I was carving, I wanted to carve the pyramids into this lucite that I had. And I used to watch the Discovery Channel and TLC, the Learning Channel. And that's when they had on pretty good stuff. And I just happened to see a special by Graham Hancock where they were connecting the layout of the pyramids on Giza with the stars of Orion. But I was watching it, pausing it to get a good look at the layout so I could carve it. And as I was drawing the schematic, I started listening to the program, because before, I'd say the mid 90s, I didn't really care about anything. I was a teenage guy in the military, got out, very rebellious after my couple of years, and was just floating through society. And, I was watching it, and I started to make the connection. I'm saying, wait a second. I stopped drawing the schematic. I never finished the piece of art. And he was doing something on lost civilizations underwater off of the coast of Japan, Yonaguni. And, I was fascinated with it. And then I saw him on another program. He had a book, Fingerprints of the Gods. I bought it, read it. I lent it to a friend, and he didn't give it back. He bought me the guy's next book, The Mars Mystery, to kind of compensate me. So I decided to read that. Again, fascinating. Then I bought his next book, Flooded Kingdoms of the Ice Age, which found more underwater stuff, ancient maps from before Columbus that showed Antarctica, the whole Americas, land that wasn't available now because you could only see it when the sea level was lower. And that kind of sparked me into, the field of ancient technology. A lot of other people I learned older people found it through reading Eric von Daniken's book, Chariot of the Gods. So I started differently. And, I've always been scientific, loved science since I was a kid. And it just, it started rolling. And I was always into conspiracy. Like I started, wondering, okay, why are they selling stuff in the supermarket that's, if they're saying this can cause a certain thing, and I started making healthier choices, and one thing just led to another until finally I just went really, really deep into it and found amazing stuff.
Awesome. Nice. I've heard of some of those, the Chariots of the Gods. I remember that. Did you ever watch that movie?
Yeah, I watched that, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I mean, Cargo Cult. Von Daniken's a cool guy. I met Michael Cremo, who wrote the book Forbidden Archaeology. Yeah, back in 2018, he was in Jersey. Drove out there. Really cool guy. I bought both of his books. He had a short version, The Hidden History of the Human Race. Then he had Forbidden Archaeology, which was the main version, about 600 pages. And that book impacted the scientific community so dramatically that he had to write another book called Forbidden Archaeology's Impact, talking about how these so-called scientists received the information. They documented every archaeological find. It took them 8 years, him and Richard Thompson. And some of the stuff that brought me just on another level, because he questioned everything, like the whole theory of evolution. And, and I never was a fan of it, but as I studied it, being scientific and knowing how to use the scientific method, things weren't adding up. So, when you see they lie once or twice, you start to say, I can't really take the government, at word. I never did really, but, just kind of confirmed my suspicions, looking into the etymology of the word government, seeing that govern, to control, to limit, to restrict, and meant from the Latin word mente, meaning the mind. So it literally means restriction of the mind, the control of the mind. And seeing how movies kept pointing at, hinting. They couldn't directly say it because they'd probably never be able to make another movie again. And it was really, it's been a great journey, man.
You mentioned that you're a carver. Yeah. Have you ever messed around with marble?
No, I haven't. I have like lucite. I would carve inverted carvings where you can see it through the clear part. And, I'd like to sculpt. I really enjoy more like drawing and stuff because it's quiet. The hum of the drill and the tools are a little, distracting.
I've never been a carver, but I worked in architectural precast concrete, basically buildings, for a long time, and did a few jobs with marble inlays. And the marble phenomenon, the things that have been carved into marble in the past, supposedly with hammer and chisels, that was really my entry point into the whole topic as well. Because looking at these things going, no, you can't do that with.
Yeah. I have a lot of stuff I can present tonight. Marble, funny enough, marble's about a 4 on this hardness scale, Mohs hardness scale. Steel is about a 6. So, you can chisel it with steel, but you're going to have you're going to need fine tools. I mean, if you look at the statue of David or Moses by Michelangelo, I mean, these are works of art where I don't think they're telling us totally how these things were made. But then when you look at granite, which is about a 6.5, 7, like quartzite on the scale of hardness, if you take a screwdriver and scrape it across granite, you'll see the silver come off. It'll be like a crayon. So when they tell us, oh, they carved it with copper chisels, it just doesn't add up scientifically. And then when you see some of the results, any person that construction or carving today would say, no, you can't make that by hand. You could see something is made by a planer or a rotary tool, clearly.
Yeah, I don't think that if you look at the profile picture I put up, that's with the veil of her face.
That's amazing.
I don't at all believe that somebody can make that in a rock with impact force.
Yeah,
I think it would make more sense if it was poured.
Absolutely more sense if it was poured, or like you said, planed. But to tell me that this dude used chisels and hammers and made that, and didn't spend his whole life starting again from scratch because he just sheared off half of her face is absurd.
Yeah, I don't care how much meth that guy had. He wasn't making that shit.
The most I ever got done on it was like destroying my life. So yeah, he didn't do this.
That is
Have you guys ever heard of Captain Beefheart?
No.
What?
Yeah, he was like he was kind of like a part of like Frank Zappa, but he had like his own band, the Captain Beefheart Magic Band. But the reason why I bring it up, when he was a young child, he was a prodigy for a child prodigy for sculpting, and he was known at like 10 years old to be able to like carve marble, and they were like, he got a scholarship to go to college, and I guess his parents didn't want him to go for art, and then he just started the crazy band that he started. But anyways, he was a child prodigy specifically for marble sculpting.
Were his parents military like the rest of?
Probably.
He was MK Ultra. Fuck.
Probably. I mean, he's best buddies with Frank Zappa, so that tells you. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, so Max, you want to bring up some of the slides and maybe we'll get going with some of the stuff you got?
Sure. I have something backstage. Yeah.
Yeah.
This right here is a painting from, the middle of the second millennia. And it's supposed to be a carving of Jesus. And I noticed that it had these 4 mushrooms. Now, I myself had tried psilocybin and, other stuff, and saw that, I guess McKenna was right. There's more spirituality in a mushroom than in all the religions in the world. I mean, I really went down the rabbit hole. Alice in Wonderland had some amazing trips. So I recognized the mushroom on the left as a psilocybin mushroom. So I'm saying, wow. Then I looked and I found the other 3 are actually real mushrooms, and they're also psychedelic. So that picture there, showed me like, wow, something is being hidden. And then there's a picture below it as well, a picture to the left from where it came, which was a collage of other pictures. And, this could point toward what John Allegro wrote about when he interpreted the Dead Sea Scrolls, saying that he wrote a book called The Holy Cross and the Sacred Mushroom. And, they didn't like that, but he was the foremost leading expert in translation. And, so he stirred up a lot of stuff. And, so this was something that I had made. This was something that I found. Somebody had posted this back about 8 years ago. And it was a vessel from 1,000-year-old Central American artifact that just, when I looked at it, I said, this looks like that Blade Reaper type of creature from that movie. So I started comparing stuff because there's nothing that can be compared to this type of a carving anywhere except the movies. This one here, I photographed this in the Museum of Natural History. And I wonder, why are these people carving stuff with it looks what appears to be like a helmet or something around them, or maybe a reptilian humanoid with a human inside, maybe a suit or something. When I found these, somebody had showed me from Colombia. I mean, they had fangs. When I just look at the eyes on the one on the top right, the circular form of it shows that it's not really going to be carved with a chisel, and then saying that this is over 1,000 years as well. I started looking into Dendera, Egypt, the Temple of Dendera, and I found the myth that they talk about in Greece and other cultures of the three-headed dog, the guardian, Cerberus. Simon Bisley drew a picture of it on the lower left. And when I zoomed into it, I noticed that there was a guy sitting behind the three dogs with what appeared to be a whistle, which would be an ancient dog whistle. And it made me wonder, how does one figure that out? How do they figure out that a dog can hear stuff that we can't and make a device to make the sound? Then I looked further and found there were ancient dog whistles found in Mexico that were 300 BC or older as well. So we're seeing some commonality there. The top is what I found in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in Manhattan back in 2015, 2016. And it looks like a pilot. I mean, to me, it looks like a miniature little pilot. And below it, I found what appeared to be like planes or flying machines. Some people might say, oh, it's a flying fish or it's something, but flying fish have their wings on the top. They attach at the top half of the fish, not the bottom. Also, we see on the edge of the tail and the wings would appear to be vortex curls caused by aerodynamics when a flying machine is in the air. So that, led me to take pictures of this. There was a coin from 1704 with what appears to be a satellite dish in the middle of it. Radio telescope, I wasn't sure what it was, but it definitely didn't look ancient. It looked more modern. And in 1704, I don't think they had anything like that. And, I started to piece stuff together, say, okay, Star Wars, like all of these movies. This was a craft that was said to be found in Japan. I think it was the 1800s. And, I had made renditions of it on the bottom to show how it might have looked. The texts above were the original. This was something from the Temple of Dendera. It showed what appeared to be somebody smoking, possibly the blue lotus, which is what they say the Egyptians used, to travel without moving. Kind of like that movie Dune, when they took the spice to travel without moving. And it showed us, it gave me the insight that why certain drugs are illegal is because they can allow a person to access maybe parts of their mind, or maybe there's some sort of a technology that allow us to travel without moving, hence the word tripping, going on a trip when you take LSD or a mushroom or ecstasy or something. I found this in the Metropolitan as well. On the top right is the statue of the deity Ptah from Egypt. And I noticed it looked strikingly similar to the Oscars. And when I compared it, the resemblance was astonishing. I doubt that the Oscars the statue was made by accident to look, like this statue. I think it was copied specifically. And a friend of mine said that a name for the most subservient servant was called the Oscar. I've been looking for stuff on that. He told me that a few years ago when he saw this that I had made here. This was this is a painting by Michelangelo, and somebody had told me, it could be representing the brain, where the deity is put into this type of shape. And as we superimpose the brain, we start to say, wow, this is very, very, very close. So I think Michelangelo was hiding certain knowledge in these paintings and sculptures.
I just want to add real quick, when I went to the Vatican, I don't know, probably 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, the tour guide said that they actually they say that now that's what that is the brain. They accept that as an answer.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, you actually just said that. I was like, wow. I was blown away. I was like, wow, they actually accept that as that's what that is the brain.
They're finding it harder to deny, the sacred female femininity the goddess, the mother goddess, and then the father god. They tried to make it more one-sided, but this, when I looked into the Virgin Mary symbol, is actually a symbol. It's clearly a symbol of female genitalia, and we can see it in sculptures if we really look at it closely and we start to say, wow, this is something totally amazing. These creatures or beings that appear to be wearing helmets of some sort with goggles, these are sculpted into the rock in the Marquesas Islands. So that's another, this is first century AD, almost 2,000 years old, and that's just a conservative dating. So they could be much older, but if they say that, then it throws a wrench into the modern timeline of archaeology. This was a photo of a sculpture that was carved in an embossed manner, where they carved out the negative. But what I noticed was that I highlighted here, that there seems to be a group of people in the top left that are floating on a cloud that's clearly above the tree line. And then it has what appears to be somebody in a vehicle with wings, maybe representing that it has the ability of flight, which is also clearly above the tree line. And the people on the bottom, to add to it, are looking up. So this seems to be a carving of something people saw that was flying in the sky.
Yeah.
So this was
I never noticed the Virgin Mary thing until just now.
Oh, wow.
You would go back?
Yeah, let me go back. Yeah, right here.
Well, yeah, it's right there. I can't believe I missed that for 38 years.
Yeah, it's and the pose, you can see the labia is open. The one on the bottom right seems to be where it's more just
tidy.
Not excited. The more that it's open, the cape could be representing the labia major and the labia minor as well. It's fascinating. I mean, that's basically life. Life comes, it's basically the portal of life was that. Ancients looked at that. If we looked at that as the portal of life, which we see babies coming from, we might look at things in a little different manner. And this was the money here, where if you look at the back of the dollar bill, one thing you start to say to yourself, okay, what's a pyramid doing on the back of the dollar bill? This isn't Egypt. What is an obelisk doing in Washington, D.C.? There's an obelisk in Central Park, hieroglyphs and all. So
they're everywhere.
Yeah,
we've got one right in I'm in Kansas City. We've got the World War I monument right in the middle of the city.
Yeah, this seems to be what we call modern civilization, seems to be re-engineered from the previous destruction of what might have been. This is called the Boo Mandala. They say it gives a representation of a land map, a solar disk, and beyond. Below, I took a picture in the museum of a disc from Nepal that supposedly is, I think, 4,000 years old. Looks to be some type of star, with rings around it. So, I photographed it, put it in the archives. Just like the painting by Michelangelo, when they split the brain, surprisingly enough, it looks kind of close to the Eye of Horus. This eye in the middle of our brain, next to the pineal gland, it has a lens, and they say it points upwards. So, we have two eyes that we see the physical world with, but this could be the mind's eye, possibly. And this is how they hide this ancient knowledge from what I'm, seeing through my research. This is called the epod vest. This is what they say ancient priest. It's also called the Aaron vest or Aaron's vest. They say the priest would communicate with God or whatever deity through this vest. In the Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they went to open the Ark, the guy had the epod vest on. So they throw these, and these are real artifacts. This looks like the modern keypad that we use today. This is a 300-year-old painting, The Baptism of Christ by Art de Gelder, 1710, on the left. I overlaid and darkened the object in the sky a little so we could see it clearer on the right. And, so if this is the baptism of Christ, something is in the air, and in the middle of that circle is a dove actually painted into that. So the artist, represented that. This is in Nepal, seemingly the head of a triceratops, that spouts the water. So again, maybe possibly saying that a lot of things might be alive still. This is Dendera, Egypt, with what appears to be like a helicopter, and not just an ordinary one, but a cargo helicopter. On the bottom right is the Navy's prototype. I think that's the Aurora. So, I said, let me throw the pieces together. On the top left is a carving that Indonesians made after they saw a bicycle for the first time in 1920 from the Dutch. So we noticed how they carve it in with flowers as the wheels. Maybe the wheels were turning. Maybe they did that to express motion. But the thing is, it shows us, like, when we see that they drew a bicycle like this, and knowing what a bicycle is, we can say, oh, no, this is definitely a representation of a bicycle. When we look below it and see what appear to be wristwatches, which you don't see watches really like that. The watch that I found was a military watch. So the military watches I put on the bottom to compare against the Sumerian, Assyrian, Babylonian carvings with the watches on it shows a whole different picture of what whoever carved these saw on the wrist of these deities that actually were carved with wings as well.
Is there any utility to that watch design, or is it just a aesthetic feature?
The utility, I would think, it prevents the glass from being broken as easy. So if you have that design, that grid over the watch, which you could see each of the numbers, that's going to be a more durable watch. So, like if something taps the top of a watch, usually it can crack the face, and then you'd have to get a new glass. These military style watches, which those watches are from World War I in the 20th century, they do serve a purpose of protection, a more durable timepiece. This is a cylinder seal, over 6,000 years old, from Mesopotamia, that looks to be like a long neck creature that doesn't exist today, that they would say is a dinosaur. This is a painting, The Miracle of Snow, by Masolino da Pinacali in the 15th century in Italy. And I noticed that it looked like they were flying in some type of ship in the left. So I searched and I found that it looks very close to when a lead airship has a formation of planes flying behind it. And this is over and over. We're finding this theme of flying vehicles in the sky in ancient paintings and carvings and legends. This is a painting from the 16th century of Queen Elizabeth I, 1580 to 1590. When they x-rayed the photo, they noticed that the flowers on the left were covering what was originally painted, which was a small serpent that she was holding. So why would they take the time to cover that up? So again, it shows that they were trying to hide something. And on the right is the before the cover up. So you could see she's holding clearly some type of serpent creature in her hand. This is a statue on the left by Michelangelo from 1500 of Moses with horns. The one on the right is even older, by Klaus Sluter from 1395, called The Well of Moses. So, also with horns. And it makes me wonder, Why would this be carved like this? And this is why I call my channel American Zombie channel too, because the zombies, you can't talk to many people about this. They'll start to make excuses of why it's not what you're seeing. I'm just saying, let's just look at the evidence, you know. In the middle top, I found an artifact in the Metropolitan that looked like a cyborg. So I said, let me compare it to cyborgs on the left and the right. And it's a very close comparison because I noticed what appeared to be like maybe squiggly lines of the brain on the stone carving and something mechanical behind it, you know. So this was another comparison. I mean, and this is 7th century Mexico, so it's at least 1300 years, probably older than that. This is a painting from Yugoslavia in the church, 1350 AD, of you know, Christ, you know, the crucifixion, with clearly in the back, 2 people are in some type of vehicle, again, flying through the sky. One seems to be chasing another. And, you know, these are paintings that people can look up online, see that they exist. I took all of these pictures in the Metropolitan and the Museum of Natural History. And what I noticed was when they all come from the Mexican area of Central America, but I noticed each one of these carvings have a different, what would be called ethnicity, showing that there could have been a multicultural civilization here before what they called, you know, the Native Americans were here, or maybe those people were the descendants of that civilization. On the top left, clearly looks Oriental, that 7th to 10th century, again, over 1,000 years old. The top middle looks like your typical Native American look, but he's wearing what looks to be like a helmet that I would say looks like a welder's helmet or some type of, you know, something that would protect you against something. The top right, there's a cap over his head and he has wings on that artifact where it looks like the cap that they wear under the helmet of a flight suit. In the bottom middle, that artifact is made out of obsidian. And as we know, obsidian chips real easy. So you're not going to carve that with a chisel. And on the bottom right, from the Museum of Natural History, which is also Veracruz, it looks to be someone that they would say comes from the African continent, clearly. And he's in here with everybody else. And one thing I noticed they don't like is they don't like diverse civilizations. They always want to say ancient civilizations are only one people or two. But Egypt shows me that have multicultural stuff there too. India as well. I took the right pictures in the Museum of Natural History. Those are supposedly over 2,000 years old of what appeared to be a reptilian humanoid holding a baby. And on the left was the Metropolitan Museum, 2,300, 2,400 years old, again, with something that looks kind of the visage of a viper or something. I took this picture at the Metropolitan. This is a cylinder seal of a horse with wings and a horn, like a unicorn. And the thing is, it's made of chalcedony. Chalcedony is as hard as quartz. So you're not scratching that with steel. But yet they were able to carve this intricate pattern that when rolled out on clay would make this. So I put a picture of Pegasus on the lower right to compare. But on the feet of this, on the top right, it looks like they were trying to represent it with wheels of some sort. So that also brought into, you know, just like the bicycle represented by the Indonesians, this could have been an ancient interpretation of something they saw flying, which they could only realistically interpret as a flying horse, you know, or it could be just a flying horse as well. These were extremely old. Arsenical copper, mace heads, they call it, mace heads, right? And cylindrical stands. These are 4th millennia BC. So you're looking at 6,000 years old. And to me, the top ones look like some type of mechanical device that would fit into, you know, an engine. Mechanics might see this, and realize exactly what it could fit into. This I found 11th century in the museum, and I said, wow, it looks very similar to what they use to propel themselves above water, with what's coming out of the feet and then the controls they're holding on the hands. This was the picture I showed you previously from Central America. I took the liberty of moving the mask over the face to show what it might look like in the middle top and middle bottom, and put the welding mask on the sides to give a good comparison of what it could have been or might have been. Could be something totally different, but the only way to really find out is to do research like this. This is an artifact on the top left from Greece, and the top right, two different artifacts, and the bottom left, a carving. And they all look like what appear to be some type of ancient tablet or, writing device. These were the watches from the Babylonian Sumerian carvings. And they're on many, many carvings.
Those watches also do remind me. I think I had said it on your show when you were alive. It reminds me of like the Ora Serrata too, inside the eyeball. Looks a lot like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It could, because I'm not really sure of what it is. It looks like a military watch, but it could be, a variety of things. I mean, he has two on. This was a carving from a sarcophagi. And I noticed that it had two different types of hieroglyphs. The one in the middle looks like a cruder form, but the baboon, which doesn't really look like a baboon we have today. This looks like a hybrid with like a dog's snout and a baboon's body. And as I zoomed in closer to see, the hieroglyph on the left was very crude. Definitely not the people that made this, because the one in the middle looks like it's been made with a machine, and you can even see the pupil inside of the eye. Now, this is in diorite. I mean, that's an extremely hard rock, and the detail that you can see in this. I mean, this face is about a little bit smaller than a quarter. You can see the nostrils, you can see the pupil, you can see the eyelid. It's just amazing. The bottom were plates from Egypt, 4,000 years old. Looks like a microphone. I said, okay, let me see if I can find other ones. So I found two. And then the top ones are from Colombia. And they look like microphones as well, with what appear to be a speaker belt below it. And, so I compared them together. This is a picture of Ganesh on the left from the 11th century. And I matched up the items with a modern day fighter pilot on the right, the goggles, the speaker in the middle, the microphone on the left, the control knob in orange, the hose, and the air tank. And then, they talk about this is supposed to be the remover of obstacles. What does the Air Force do? They remove obstacles before the Army is brought in. This was in the Museum of Natural History. I mean, and then the one on the bottom right is from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Looks like a helmet, and I put space helmets around to show comparison, to say what else could it be? Somebody sent me megalith research years ago, and he said over the top of the doorway, and I have had this in other photos that I took as well from sarcophagi. We said, look, it looks like the bubble from the Terminator when they travel through time, So I said, let me superimpose that. And then I took a picture. This is from a sarcophagi, and I noticed that, I'm like, what's this being standing in between? And again, it looks like some type of area, which, maybe it does something that allows a person to travel dimensions or through time or through, or maybe not. This is a picture from the same museum, 3,500 years old. And I noticed that there was a little, what appeared to be like an alien behind the guy in like a bag or something. with his hand over his head as if he was controlling his mind. And when I saw this, I thought of Kazoo from the Flintstones, the little alien that would pop up, you know? And it just makes me wonder, right? Where does that come from? You know, Kazoo. I took this picture in the Museum of Natural History. This was on Ancient Aliens. I found it finally in a museum, and it looks like a glider suit. You know, it really does. It looks like a glider suit. I finally got a picture of it from the back because they never showed that. So I got some good photos of this. This is a coin from 1656, again, depicting something in the air that's flying that looks like a saucer on the right with actually a beam coming out the middle of it. These are the watches again, you know, with a better comparison to modern watches and the military. This on the left is the Magnificent Life of Mary. And in the background looks like something in the sky. And in a totally different painting, Notre Dame in Burgundy, a very similar one in the sky in the background. And we see something similar as well in a Tibet scroll as well. So this is linking through cultures. These are the planes that I found in the museum. They call them flying fish pendants, 10th, 15th century, casted in gold. I put a picture of a flying fish below the plane on the bottom, so that the fish's wings are more in the middle to the top rather than underneath the vehicle, the way a plane's usually is. And I showed on the top right how fighter planes, they used to make those teeth and make it look like sharks, just the way these planes are made to resemble some type of animal bearing its teeth. This, again, Ganesh compared to many types of fighter pilots. This was the microphone tablet that I found, 4,000 years old, they said it is, in the Met. Looks to me, it has like a screen, a coupling device, things that are showing projection, sonic projection somehow. I compared
to interrupt, but before you get too far, can you go back 2 slides to the Tibetan example? I just didn't get a close look. I apologize. Thank you.
Yeah. This one I zoomed in on the bottom. Somebody might say, oh, it's a hat or something, right? But then when I compare it to these, we see the similarity. And of course, it's floating in the sky as well. Yeah. You want me to go forward, or you want to look at it?
Go ahead. I apologize. I just wanted to take a close look.
No, it's cool. Yeah. So we have the microphone.
There was actually a lot of art he showed that I thought you might have been interested in, Jim.
Sure. I know I've been watching. I got distracted.
I was going to ask you afterwards because I think there was a lot of art that you might have seen before.
This is a cup from a Mexican museum with a deity that is said to have a flaming sword of light. And I compared it to a lightsaber because that's kind of odd that they would have a legend carved into certain artifacts of somebody that had a flaming sword, a sword of fire. This was from Cambodia. It looks to be a Stegosaurus carved into the rock of a temple. This on the top left is a Hopi maiden, 1800. On the top right is the Lady of Elche, which is an artifact from Spain. And on the bottom, we see where Princess Leia might have got her hairstyle from. Just the way this is an ancient lightsaber, then we got the other piece, the Princess Leia. Men in Black on the bottom had that little alien inside the guy. I found this artifact with what appears to be a little guy inside of a person. So I said, let me compare these just to show. Guatemala, 500 AD. Very odd contraption, that this person is wearing. And, with the head, being, maybe that's natural, maybe it's shaped that way. Some cultures do that, cargo cult type of thing, maybe. I found this in the same museum, Museum of Natural History, and it looks like the guy's got like a spacesuit on or something. So I zoomed into it, to show it. This I found in the Met, and what I noticed underneath, so there's a floor that these apparent two beings are underneath, and it looks like that alien creature, like they're concentrating or something on the people above, which looks like they're doing some ritual with the guy sitting on the throne with some vehicle flying overhead. And that's a close-up of the beings below the surface. So yeah, it's just, food for thought. This is 3,350 years old, it's said to be, an Egyptian royalty, but it's made out of quartzite, which is clearly harder than steel. So, go figure. If they even said it was carved with a steel chisel, that's not happening. That's like trying to cut down a tree with a plastic knife,
I'm still wondering where all these like mountains of spent chisels are.
Yeah. Right. Where's all the shavings?
Like,
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah, just this was 7th millennium BC Israel. So you're looking at 9,000 years old, and it doesn't look human. Again, it looks, I don't even know what to say it is, except it does not look human. This was the sarcophagi I was taking pictures of. I got pictures of every side of this this artifact. It's big. So I mean, I have a lot of files on this, but on the top left corner, on the side facing the window, I noticed I blew it up on the bottom, what appears to be a right triangle and what would look like a UFO with two antennae. Now the right triangle, that's what they say is the isosceles. No, that's the Pythagorean theorem. But this is 1,000 years before him. And we wonder, where do they get these math from? I wonder, could it be saying that this vehicle brought this knowledge of mathematics, geometry, to them, to humans, maybe? This is another artifact that's over 3,300 years old, the Falcon of Nectanebo. And when I looked at this, it's carved out of gray whack. This does not look chisel. This looks like a planing device to carve those wings, to carve that crown. This is an astonishing artifact. These 15th century or older could not be carved with a chisel, and they're made of obsidian. Again, the fragile volcanic rock that chips. Some people say that these could be something that goes into an electrical component where the wires are wounded around it. Also, ancient phonograph records kind of look like this, cylindrical. So this could actually be holding some type of knowledge that could be maybe seen if the device, like how the phonograph, when you put the needle on it and you spin it and you can hear it. So that's why I said, let me, these are fascinating, really fascinating. When I looked at this, I said, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are from Mexico too, right?
These
come
are
from the Olmec culture, they think.
They say it's ancient Aztec artifact. Yeah.
An Aztec pill bottle.
Yeah.
They found thousands of these too. This is one of those anomalies. So like I've read that book too, the Forbidden Archaeology, and this guy brings receipts. Like there are all kinds of artifacts like this that look like machine parts, and these ones come and they found tons of these things. So they don't even know where those ones come from, but they do. They appear to be wire spools or something like that.
It's hair curlers.
Yeah, that was the first folder. So yeah, if anybody's got any questions or insight or something,
Yeah, I was blown away, man. A lot of those things that you were showing, I've already been looking at. I've got a couple books on ancient artifacts from Mexico, and yeah, they're bizarre. I mean, they're freakish looking people. A lot of them, their heads are long. They look like little ants, and there's tons of them. And that's what it's like for the first couple thousand years. And then, the Olmecs, they're there too. And then it starts looking normal, but they were very interesting stuff coming out of Mexico back then.
Oh yeah, stuff that we haven't been told. The only way we're going to find this out is if we do the research ourselves and collaborate. It's like I say on the American Zombie channel, we can only look for other survivors. If you talk to people that are too zombified, they'll infect you and they'll have you, mentally thinking in a different way. So you got to keep your mental shields up to kind of, protect yourself from them. I had found some stuff with mimics throughout nature because I told people, look, I think that that there could be people that look like people that ain't people, that could be talking with us, interacting, and when they say, oh, well, that's a crazy, or, they always try to label crazy or, oh, that's unorthodox. It's against the, it's against the paradigm of the 1984 Brave New World that we lived in. George Orwell, I think, wrote that book to warn people. That was his last book. When he wrote Animal Farm, surprisingly, his wife passed on a simple operation after that book. So, yeah, but I can share the mimic pictures if you want to.
And a question, Max. You said something in the beginning about Yonaguni, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you say about it? Can you remind me?
I saw the special. I think it was called Quest for a Lost Civilization by Graham Hancock, and he showed what appeared to be monuments under the water off the coast of Yonaguni.
Okay, yeah. So it was weird when you said it because there's a Bad Bunny song called Yonaguni.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, and then it made me think. Like Mario, who's Symbolic Studies in the chat, wrote something about when we saw the Mary female genitalia slides. He wrote, something about Yoni, who's like a Hindu goddess, I believe. And I just was curious. I looked up what Yoni looks like, and then it led me to the Yonaguni. I guess you would call it like the architecture under the water. And it's like man-made pyramids under the ocean off the coast of Yonaguni. Like, how weird is that?
Oh, yeah.
I never knew about that before. It's crazy. Anyways, sorry.
And people are trying to say that that's not man-made. It's natural. It's really crazy when I think about it.
It's literally an underwater step pyramid.
Yeah.
Straight lines don't happen in nature, bro.
No.
Oh, yeah. They found the city twice the size.
They have megalithic blocks.
It looks like it. I mean, people can argue that some of it might be natural, and there are natural blocks that form. Sometimes it looks hexagonal and stuff like that. But Yonaguni, and there's also pyramids in Japan, small, made out of, there's just no way you're carving that with a chisel, Just see if I got the other.
Yeah, they have megalithic blocks all over Japan on land. So on land,
I thought it was weird too because there's the connection with Yoni being like a female fertility goddess, and then like was sparked because of the slides of like the Mary situation. I was like, oh, female fertility, that's weird. And then the name of the city, I don't know. It just kind of like connected in this like weird way.
Yeah. A lot of ancient cultures have goddesses and gods that transfer through different cultures. Once they switched it from polytheism to monotheism, that was really to hide a lot of knowledge because the female, the male deity always had his female consort there. You're going to need that to procreate. and also the female goddess holds a different power, you know, as opposed to the male. So it lets us see the both parts of us. Every person is not what they think they are. You know, it took a man and a woman to make all of us. So whether you're a woman or a man, you have both those parts from the mother and the father in you. But they want to imbalance that, you know. I put another one backstage. Oh yeah, let me see. I gotta try to share it. That's what it is. I thought I was sharing it. My apologies. Okay, this one here. Yeah.
You're very good at presenting this, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's been it's been a while, almost 20 years. I gave a couple of lectures at the Eyes of Learning in Levittown, 2012, 2013, and 2015 about it. This here, I compared the ancient.
Levittown in New York?
Yeah, in New York. Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, they don't really let me speak there anymore. You know, they do a lot of psychic stuff, which is cool. But, you know, sometimes you say stuff like I have religious slides I'll show you from the Vatican, and they're kind of shocking. I just tell people, look, I'm just presenting the evidence, you know, I'm just presenting the evidence. This is Persepolis, an aerial view of the ancient city in Iran compared to a modern circuit board from a computer. So when you look at this, could it be that they left the knowledge in the layout, you know, to reconstruct what we see today? These are stadiums from the sky. Why do stadiums look like eyes? You know, it's a mystery to me. You know, and anybody can get these pictures. This is Washington, D.C. You know, looks like an owl, you know, with the pyramid underneath is the tail going up into the Capitol building. This is an electrical component, and on the right is the floor model on a cathedral. So again, it shows me that maybe this knowledge was saved and encoded for the certain people to re-engineer it to what we see today on the left. And it's, you know, the similarities are striking.
You know, when that cathedral was built?
This cathedral, I'm thinking 400, maybe 300 years ago. I'm being conservative. Even if I were to say 200 years ago, it still wouldn't, you know, it would kind of go in line more with us, you know, somebody knowing this knowledge and saying, okay, this is the schematic. Did you find the other piece of knowledge from this country or that country? Like, remember when they were going through India in World War II looking for technology? China, Japan, especially the Americas over here. Yeah.
I was mostly asking because I find the decline in our architecture just mind-blowing constantly.
Yeah, it's an assault on our visual cortex to see things that used to be beautiful, and now they're making them very mundane-like to keep the mind in that way. Like when you look at beautiful pictures of sceneries, you feel better when you're out near a mountain or something. And then when you see a city or constant bricks and mortar, that has to affect the mentality in some way. We see the difference between inner city people that go to schools compared to people who go in the suburbs, as opposed to people that go in the country, and in comparison as well to people that are homeschooled.
Nick can probably vouch for this. If you've ever been locked up and stuck for a month or so in jail, just looking at nothing but cinder blocks for a month will start to really wear on you.
Well, they also paint those areas in light blue and tan because those colors make a person feel more calm and obedient. We used to call it asylum blue and obedient tan, you know, and, you know, the color of a place, you see this in schools, the asylum blue, the obedient tan, the bland colors, and always something to try to control the mind from thinking outside of the box. This is a computer motherboard compared to the layout in Mexico of the Mayan pyramids. Kind of, again, like the floor plan of Persepolis in Iran. This looks like another floor plan to build some type of computer circuit. This is the Osirian in Egypt on the top left, and a computer chip on the top right. This is the Dendera light bulb on the top and bottom. And I think Von Daniken had this recreated to show that it's actually a viable light that could work. This is a Mexican deity, what appears to be a watch on his hand touching his thigh. So it's not just the Sumerians. And this showed me that we might be a cargo cult ourselves, as advanced as we may think we are. Just like the picture I took personally of the reptilian on the bottom left holding what appears to be a child suckling the breast. On the right, that was another one that somebody took, which are very similar to the top left of the one from Egypt and the top right, which is supposed to be the Madonna. Again, an artifact in the left that looks just like some type of breathing device. Vehicles from Mexico, New Zealand, Egypt, all looking like a guy sitting in some type of vehicle with his hands.
And this is a very mysterious and favorite of the esoteric, because that's Thoth on the bottom right. That's the Olmec's first image of the plume serpent. So that's Quetzalcoatl on the top left and bottom. So I mean, it's Quetzalcoatl and Thoth, and they're very similar deities too. Very similar.
Yeah. The plume serpent, so a serpent with feathers, and you see it in China, they're dancing around with the festivals with a big colorful dragon, India, snakes everywhere, the Nagas, the children of the serpent. The Native Americans from here, they say that they're the long lost snake brothers. The King Arthur and the dragons, the Egyptians with the crocodile god, and the Australians. Reptiles are everywhere and in a deity form. This picture here looks like this rock. I don't even know how this could be carved. It looks like it was probably soft, maybe some type of thing making it soft, some type of liquid. This is the Jed pillar, or this is another one with the thing. This is the Quetzalcoatl that you were talking about, right? The plume serpent in the middle right. In the middle left is one from Bali. And the pyramids on the top from Indonesia, Mexico, and Egypt, these step pyramids look very similar. Another circuit board comparison to Persepolis. This is the Nikola Tesla electric oscillator, very similar to the Egyptian Ankh. That's another picture of the Ankh. So yeah, that's what I had in that folder. Let me see. Okay, that was that folder. I have one for the church. This one's going to be, present, share. Okay. Oh, wait. I got to pick the window. Forgot. Window, share. Okay. This is the Vatican building. I compared it to a serpent's head, right? So the Vatican building is below and a serpent python head above, right? A boa constrictor, to be exact.
Doesn't it look like one inside too or something? A snake, actually?
The one of what?
Doesn't it actually look like a snake inside the ceiling?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to show those. Yeah, I have those too. It's a good point you brought up. So this is a viper head. It looks a little more like a viper head. There's a boa constrictor head compared to the building. This is on the inside. You can't tell me this is not by design. I mean, and then you got
what? I will say that roof is an odd roof. That is a very weird taper system for a roof. To have it in the center like that, and it won't like very
check
specific.
out the statue on the main
that
stage.
would be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, this is clearly designed, man. The roof looks like scales too, the way they made it. And then on the inside, you see the fangs, the tongue, the eyes, the like you're inside. And then who do you got here? The Pope and his homeboys with what look to be jesters. Now, there's a couple of researchers that make videos that say the Nephilim look like clowns, like dressed in these clown costumes. This shows, collage. And then they have these people perform in these suits in front of the Pope and his cardinals. I mean, this is very, very odd. Behind them, right? This is the picture of what they say is Jesus, right? And I doubled it and put it on itself on the right. And it looks like some type of hammerhead monster. I mean, if I can't zoom in with this, but, the face, I mean, the fact that it makes this image, I mean, this does not look good.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's really, the inside, I compared it on the top, the outside, and then the inside of the bottom. So that's the, that's all I had in that folder.
It's
And,
interesting that the Vatican Hall, I just looked up when it was built because I was curious. So construction was started in 1966, which is around the time when there was the Vatican II, all the changes.
Mhm.
So you could argue that, that's some purposeful architecture there for sure to make a point. Who's in charge of the Vatican now? Let's say
clearly.
a little change of hands there.
I agree with you, Teresa. I think that if you trace the modernism of Catholic architecture in particular, you see a lot of this maybe Neo-Babylonian iconography. But I will say, I think that a statue of Jesus in the Snake Temple, we'll just call it the Snake Temple. I think the statue of Jesus actually makes a lot of metaphysical sense in a more normative way. I think there's a way to look at it and understand it in Christian Kabbalah where it makes sense, where acts like a cork to the abyss. Like he's like what we would call in Tibetan like a kila, he's like our diamond thunder knife, like our pointed blade. So he goes right into the abyss. So it's to rectify the hosts or rectify like ourselves, really. So I'm just saying in Christian Kabbalah it makes a lot of sense. It is scary, but it makes sense for what that sphere is. So I'll just offer that.
Nice, Jen.
Yeah, we got to look at all possibilities, man. This is where the real research is at, brainstorming, and not going toward the orthodox. When people say, "Oh, well, reptilians or camouflage couldn't be around us," this is a gecko. On top, camouflaged into the stick. On the bottom, it lifts up so you can see the silhouette is broken, so you can see that it's a gecko standing a little bit above the branch. On the top, it's just blended in. This is a moth, I mean, when you have a moth, how the heck does that happen? I mean, this is why studying science, evolution just doesn't make sense scientifically. Not, it's a religion, really. It's a belief system. It's not science. This creature, this moth, I mean, looks like a piece of wood. This is another gecko against the branch. It looks like moss. And when it gets up, you see clearly it's a gecko. So you see it camouflaged and you see gecko. This is the leaf-tailed gecko that, I had other pictures I couldn't find, but in certain positions, you really can't tell the difference with this. This is a caterpillar disguised as bird dung. So now you have caterpillars disguising this camouflage looks like a bird dropping, and prevents the birds from eating it because they think it's a dropping. This is a spider disguised as a bird dropping as well. Another spider disguised as bird dropping. This is a stick insect on a stick, and you can see it as I move it around. This is one I took myself, and so this is found here in North America, in New England. This is a praying mantis that is like a leaf. and not a living leaf. They have some that mimic living leaves in green, and this one mimics drying leaves. Fascinating. Another gecko. You can see the eye. It's probably the only, and the nostrils you can see. This we thought was an ant, but this is a spider that lives in the ant community as an ant and picks ants off as food. So why couldn't something that looks like a human live within human colony and pick off humans? Makes sense. And we see it in nature. So it's not a speculation. This is not totally speculation. This is more of a comparison. There's a cricket that somehow mimics rocks. I mean, this cricket above this rock, you got the rock in the lower left and the cricket right behind it. This is fascinating. There's another
cricket. The hummingbird flowers.
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, this shows me there's some type of, it's one of the other host on American Zombie, he says, he says this is the ether, because I said there's some type of intelligence like in the air or something. When you look at these, how does it transform to mimic these things? I mean, this is just, it's kind of shocking. This is a moth that mimics a wasp to get the protection. So you would think it's a wasp and you'd stay away. Meanwhile, it's just a moth trying to feed on pollen. It's a caterpillar that mimics as a snake. It hangs down to keep birds from messing with it. And that's the Yonaguni one. Yeah, that was it for that one. But yeah, I just slapped together a couple of files I had for that presentation to show you guys. I mean, I have other stuff, but if you had any questions or, any stuff you'd like to brainstorm about.
Real quick, I just want to ask, I saw an image at the end that I had seen Teresa and Mario saying that they thought it was a sundial. Do you remember that?
A sundial?
Oh, it was in the first presentation deck.
Was it with the star in the middle?
It looked like maybe UFOs are like air balloons or something, but I think those are actually sundials. Was that it?
Okay, let me see if I can find it. I think I know what you're talking
Flash
about.
the image right before you shut these off, too.
Was it a coin?
No, I don't think so.
It wasn't the coin one.
It was like on a pedestal, and then I forget what you said you thought it was, but I also thought it was a sundial.
A satellite dish?
Yes, you thought it was a satellite dish. I thought it was a sundial also, but maybe. You never know.
It. All right, let me see. I found it. Share. And it could be that. You're right. I mean,
it's possible.
I think this is it, right? Is this it?
Let me see. No.
Yes, on the coin. Yes.
Oh,
what you're talking about.
Oh,
see the top middle?
Yeah. Yeah, they say it could be. Now, the only thing that I would say against the sundial theory is sundials are usually flat. So that's the way they work. They have to be flat.
But
right?
to represent it on the coin, maybe they just like elevated it so you could see it. I don't know.
It's possible.
Right? It's possible though. What you're saying is interesting. Also, in this presentation deck, there was the potentially flying fish.
Is it in this?
It goes right before this, maybe.
Yes. This one here. Okay.
Don't you think those could maybe be dragons?
Well, where is the picture? Let me see that.
Yeah, let's try to use dragons.
I was like dragon riders. It was like a Game of Thrones on the brain,
Okay, so wait, let me go.
Somebody made a model of one of those and put a propeller on it, and it flew. They put wheels on the propeller on one of those.
What?
The fact that it has aerodynamic. Trying to find all right, this one. All right, the one with the flying fish. So we see the fish's wings are in a more top position than the wings on the bottom. The wings on this. Now, the real comparison is the one to the top right. The fighter planes have teeth, if you notice, painted into it like sharks. So we know for a fact that they will paint fighter planes with the shark teeth and images. Could it be that? I mean, this is a strong representation. You see the fuselage behind in gold in the middle, the wings with what appear to be vortex curls, not only on the wings, but also on the tail. The tail is extremely triangular, actually a right angle, so that has mathematics in it as well. and a pattern. So this, to me, it looks more like a flying vehicle than a fish. Of
Yeah,
course,
like
they didn't say.
mechanical,
Yeah, it
right?
looks more mechanical.
Mhm.
And to combine it with here, let me go back to the beginning. To combine it with what I found when I had found when I found the pilot, that's what kind of sealed the deal. And that's in the same part of the museum. I mean, that looks like a pilot. It looks like a little-
Hellboy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's like Snoopy the Red Baron, you know?
Holy shit,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Remember?
And they're both from Colombia. The top one was Peru, 3rd century Peru, 1700 years old. The bottom, 10th century Colombia. Now, Peru and Colombia are very close. So
Yeah.
it adds on more and more. Like if we say, well, and we should say, man, maybe it's a fish, maybe it's this. All right. How about the guy on top now?
Well,
how
hey,
about
they found cocaine. They found
in the
cocaine
mummies,
in
right?
Egyptian mummies.
Everybody
Maybe there
wants-
was,
They
little Colombian
wanna get
dudes
high.
flying it
Because
over
they were
planes,
digging a
just like
lot.
they
They
are
needed
nowadays.
energy.
Well, when you think about it, everybody wants to get high today. Why wouldn't they want to get high back then? You know, I mean,
That's what the
it
NASA
allows
lines are.
you bridge the gap of the reality. If anybody's ever smoked a joint or took a mushroom, they would know. Yeah, it's like these are the plants of the gods, for lack of a better word. You know, I'm a full advocate of, people should be able to do the drugs they want to do. When they say that you can't, right? Then that's controlling your mind. You know, who would they say? A German chemist created cocaine hydrochloride. How the heck does somebody create something like that? It seems like, again, he re-engineered it from the coke that the ancient Egyptians were doing. You know, when they find cocaine in Egyptian mummies, and the coca plant doesn't really grow native to Egypt, it's South American, right? Then they found some Roman artifacts off the coast of Brazil. What did they do? They banned underwater diving in that area because a lot of the Italian people in Brazil, the Italian people that ceded some part of Brazil, they wanted citizenship. So when you look at the criminality of government in any form, it's just criminal. Anarchy, like Mick Jagger said, anarchy is the only slight glimmer of hope, is to be autonomous, is to say, you know what, let's work together. Any progress that has ever been made in history has come from anarchy, from people not in a hierarchy. You know, they try to double speak us and double think us by saying anarchy is chaos. No, anarchy is not chaos. Anarchy is not an archy, a hierarchy. It's anarchy. It's the opposite. It's us working together. We grow food and we sell it to each other. We trade, we barter. That's anarchy. The problem is you have invading forces that would come and try to conquer us and put us in systems like we see today. And what keeps us in these systems is comfort, the comfort of technology.
Well,
Mic drop. Everyone's so quiet. There was also a slide, sorry, Max, you had about, I think it was like a picture of Mary, and then there was sort of like saucers in the background.
Oh, the life of Mary.
Yes.
Let me see.
If it's not too much trouble.
No. It's definitely, this is what it's about. It's always great to find people that, enjoy this. I mean, a lot of people don't even want to talk about it. This is the
Talk
one.
about it all day long. Let's go. No, it just reminded me of this woman. I brought her up on podcasts a few times. Dr. Diana Pasulka is her name. So her work is really interesting. She's like a professor of religious studies, if anyone's ever heard of her. And then she sort of like she's gone and like looked into like the primary documents and manuscripts of angelic encounters, you could say, or like mystical encounters. And a lot of her work shows that, like, say, experiences that like the saints and mystics would have had of like receiving the stigmata, like of Saint Francis of Assisi, for example, how he was like radiated with like and got the wounds of Christ through like radiation. Like that's what it sounds like in the primary manuscript. So it's interesting because she also hints that like UFOs and UAPs are like present in these encounters.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised to like see, you know, like little like saucers or whatever in the background. That's super interesting though.
Thanks.
So if anyone's like,
I
if anyone's like into that.
I think Nick
Yeah,
is showing a Buddhist one, just like right.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I appreciate it. I just wanted to point out that the hat motif that you showed in the previous like black and white image, it's actually a very common hat for worldly. It's like a scholar's hat. That's how it would be described. That's why certain deities wear it and certain ones don't. So when they're appearing, it actually denotes a Tibetan aristocratic ranking, rather than it's not just that's how it would be more interpreted in art history. I'm not saying that's incorrect or anything. I'm just offering that as my background is more in art history and obviously in Tibetan Buddhism specifically. So yeah, I just wanted to offer that and show us people like what the hat looks like on a deity when it's actually depicted.
Yeah. The odd thing is that they have like clouds underneath them, like, representing something in the sky, the clouds. And this deity, could this deity be coming from the underworld? Could it be coming from the next?
I mean, we have that's the interesting thing about Tibetan Buddhism, is that we have a very strict hierarchy and understanding of each little feature in the iconography. It's very detailed and very layered. And there are Nick and Teresa, and I think even Mike knows this, is that there's an inner, outer, and secret layer. So there's actually like 7 to 9 layers of meaning depending on your level of understanding. So this deity is a worldly deity, meaning that he was a worldly god, mountain god who was subjugated in the 8th century. I also wanted to point out that the Chartres Cathedral, where you showed the labyrinth, that was built in the 12th century, and
Okay.
the Borobudur, which is the pyramid in Indonesia, which is actually not a pyramid, it's hypaethral, meaning that it lacks a roof. There was never any triangular roof over it. It's actually a stupa, a Buddhist stupa, and it's built just like you showed with the microchips. It's built in that same pattern. It's 64 triangles within a 4-layered square. So it's actually very metaphysically significant. You could say that it is very similar to the architecture in our phones, but it as to be a pyramid, that you could say it's a step pyramid, but it's not really quite a pyramid. It's like there's something a little lacking from it, but it is very metaphysically and spiritually important.
Could it be that the top of the pyramid over these centuries degraded? Like even the ones in Mexico, they said they had mica, like sheets of mica, which is an electrical insulator, that were removed and taken out and harvested, like by grave stealers, because you can sell mica for a lot of money. So what we're seeing is not really exactly what everything is. Like, it's been looted, kind of, to say. But, you have a very good point there. What I think about the Buddhist thing and the hats, I have the Life of Mary picture backstage. I mean, it's not Buddhist culture, so that's one thing. And there's many more than just these two. This is just one I'm presenting. And they're in the background and they look like they're in the sky. So are they observing what's in the foreground? Are they like the watchers? Are they, in this photo, they don't seem like a hat. The one with the Buddhist thing, somebody could say, yeah, they could say that's a hat, but it's kind of odd that it matches with this one as well. But, you do have a good point that, we have to look into this much more. This is where the real research matters, you know, to where we're like, hey, you know what? I want to learn. I mean, people are starved for knowledge, and what are we fed? Celebrities, crap, junk food, school, other zombies everywhere. Zombies will try to eat the thoughts out of your head until you think like them. It just, you got to have mental shields up. That's why, you know, I was writing American Zombie over a decade ago, put it down to write other books like, you know, the Secret Words book I sent you and stuff like that with anagrams. I feel like English is a living language, you know, that tells us something within the words. I mean, it's called spelling for a reason. It's spells. We speak in spells.
Well, real quick, I did want to add. Now, it was only, I guess, really those other pictures that you just showed with that, I guess, that same hat-looking thing. In those, to me, that did also, maybe because I'm an occultist or something, the way I would have first seen that was probably as the Omega symbol. You know, so I mean, I even wondered if that could be possible, like occult symbol.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. There's
like some of the other ones look a little bit different than that, so you know, I couldn't say for that.
There's ones that you're showing that look more round. I think they're in India, and I forgot the other country, but I know exactly like what you're showing. I definitely get what you're saying. I think they're called stupas, S-T-U-P-A, and also they were saying that this is what the Hindu deities flew around in, the vimanas, the mechanical machines. So to have schematics of that working, you know, going as far as Mercury vortex engines and stuff like that, right? This is the stuff they said that Hitler and other people were looking for in India, creating the Bell UFOs and stuff like that. The misnomer is when people think that all this technology is developed by this civilization, which it seems that everything we have is being re-engineered using us as like slaves that don't know we're slaves. We actually think we're free. I mean, what's a citizen? I mean, we don't even, you know, we're so inundated with comfort. I mean, who wants to walk to a river and carry a jug of water back? You know, you rather just turn on the pipe. This system is ingenious to get people to work for it. You know, I definitely don't discount the genius in this. I'm a cog in the system. You know, how do I pull apart? You go live in the woods, they'll find you. Don't worry. You know, you see what happens to the native tribes when they isolate enough from society, they just get rolled over. You know, we don't really have that much of an advantage.
I'm okay being a sheep and a cog a little bit for,
I mean,
like, I'm not carrying water.
Well, check this out, the sheep analogy, right? A friend of mine told me 12 years ago, he said, you know, why would somebody grow a plant that doesn't bear fruit? And then we started thinking. And I said, what does a sheep eat? Grass. And what do we grow on the front lawn? Grass.
Oh, yeah. Grass is the biggest cash crop, I believe, on Earth. Definitely in North America.
Well, the rich used to grow grass in England as a status symbol to show the poor that, look, we don't need to grow food. You're going to grow it for us.
I grow a variety of native weeds.
You know, it's when whatever this thing is that has built these modern civilizations, I don't think it's us. I think it was like how we see the re-engineering. It could be wrong, but you know, what do they say? There's none more enslaved than those who falsely believe they're free, right? Van Gogh. Nietzsche says everything the state says is a lie. Everything they have, they've stolen. We can get clues from all of the real geniuses, the ones that they try to say aren't geniuses. I mean, you don't hear nothing about Tesla, Imhotep. They want you to think, oh, some apple fell on Newton's wig and messed up his makeup, and now he developed gravity and calculus. It's like, really? It's like, but I can see these things in older architecture, the Pythagorean theorem, which is really the squaring formula. You know, the Fibonacci sequence, which is really the natural sequence, the way things form, has nothing to do with Fibonacci. they put these people in our minds so we won't think of the quote. We think of the person that says it, which limits our minds. They say small minds talk about people, medium minds talk about events, and large minds talk about ideas. So what we're doing here, I guarantee you, maybe in 5, maybe in 3 years, but soon, this is probably going to be illegal. The AI, the people, over 6,000 people in Sweden, I think, have implants willingly.
Really?
Yeah, you can look it up. Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, like the RFID thing in the hands and stuff.
Yeah, you can look it up.
Oh,
this-
people are gonna get that shit here. I bet you easier. It's,
They're going to beg
Elon
you.
Musk makes it, motherfuckers will take it.
Yeah, and they're going to do the same thing they did with the Fauci sauce. They're going to say, my chip won't work unless you get your chip. That same logic. So my medicine doesn't work unless you take yours. I mean, the double think, the new speak, the brave new world mentality is here. It is here.
Don't you think it'll just make this like black market of like, say people get like their house key like in their palm of their hand or whatever, and don't you think then someone would just come on and like slice your hand off and like rob your house?
Oh yeah, and that's what they're going to use to tell people
so
that's why you should.
Who
They're
would
gonna
do that?
That with fingerprints.
They're going to do
retarded.
that. They're
You're
gonna do
actually
that.
retarded if you get
Well-
that. I'm
Well, they're
sorry.
going to do that to make people say, you see, this is why you need to get it in the brain. Because,
No.
yeah, and people are going to say, he's right.
They can still steal it the same way.
Yeah, no, thank you. Or they just put you at gunpoint.
Oh, but
and
now they're gonna kill you.
Right.
drag you over to your car so that you can unlock your car with your fucking eyeball or something. Like just like
Well,
Minority Report. And they
yeah,
had to
but-
remember they had the black market eyeball and
Yes.
put it in his fucking eye. So he could
Yes.
access whatever thing. I have to rewatch the movie. It's been a long
Yeah.
time.
Well, I've
Yeah.
seen you can do that with if somebody's got a drinking glass, right? You can see where you got a good fingerprint, and that's not that hard to lift off with some masking tape and stuff.
Awesome. Thank you.
The
I
more
don't-
you know.
I mean, I remember one time I forgot to pay my phone bill, and just the hour or two from paying it until it says, okay, it's paid and it's back on, I felt the withdrawal. I mean, I never like using the phone for the computer. I use it for calls and texts. I tell people, look, just send it to me on email. I'll check it there. Please, on text, I'm not, going to hit the links and stuff.
Oh, you're doing that the opposite way of how it's supposed to work.
Well, I'm trying.
I hate
to
when
hold
people
back-
call me.
I'm trying to hold back the dam. I'm like the Dutch boy with his finger in the dam. I know it's futile. Hopefully I'll die before it comes to where the dam burst. I mean, I remember, I'm not old, but I'm not young, so I look at it like this, what we're living in, it's great. I dreamed about it as a kid, but it's some 1984 Orwellian shit. You're right, Polar Nights. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And what did he
I
say
don't
at
think
the
it's
end?
so great.
At the end of 1984, what does he say to Big Brother? He says, I love you. And when I turn on that faucet, I'm saying, I love you. Thank you for that faucet. Thank you that I don't got to build a fire outside in a teepee. Nothing against people that do that. It's just to say, I am it's what I call comfortable slavery. Comfortable slavery.
But
So-
there's got to be a balance point, right? Like even Romans had flushing toilets, like that's great. That's a good technology to have. There's a balance point where it's like, when is the technology helpful? And then when does it tip over into like us becoming slaves to the technology? I think that point was hit in like the early 90s.
I don't think there is a balance. I think that there's just a continuous pendulum.
Maybe. I don't know. Well,
Like,
then it
can you
just like
identify one
crashes
thing
and then
that
we
Can you think of
restart
one
over
single
again.
thing where it's like, okay, this is the technology where we've hit the sweet spot and we're at rest with perfect utilization?
Like I think the relationship with like human to like modern tech as we see it now, say with like phones and internet and whatnot, like 90s 2000s max,
Okay.
that was the cap.
Late night,
then-
the Discman era, that was pretty good.
Yeah, the Discman. No, okay, maybe the first iPod. I do like my music like all like in the palm
Okay.
of my hand.
We
That's
must
pretty
be
cool.
approximately about the same age. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, no, I'm 40. But yeah, it was good. But then now it's like it's too much. Like the phone is too accessible. It's too many things on the phone. I like what Max was saying, how he resists like doing things on his phone. Like I'd rather like sit down at the computer, look at my email on the computer. Like there's a time and a place to do these things. And when it's too like inundated in your face at all times, it becomes like a clusterfuck, and then it's not healthy for anybody.
But isn't it nice not having to read the conditioner bottle once a day?
Conditioner bottle. What do you mean?
Y'all don't remember pooping before cell phones?
Uh,
You get magazines, newspaper, like read actual physical text would be
That
great.
same magazine would sit in the little magazine rack for a decade.
yeah,
That's fine.
that's funny. Holy shit.
It's better than reading your screen or like scrolling reels, maybe. Better for your brain. This is the thing. It's convenient and it's funny and fun, but it's not good for your brain. It's not good for your mind. This is the problem. Sorry, this is like a whole segue.
No, you're absolutely right. It's limiting the mind. It's restricting the mind. It's the government. You know, if we put in mind control, which government means, every time we say the word government, like they call them the controllers in Brave New World, we think totally different. We're like, I want to vote for a new mind control. Right? I mean, we're in a
This time it'll work.
Yeah, this time it'll work. Let me
vote our way out of this one.
It's like to think that a vote puts a person in power. I mean, the politics is theater for the slave class. I'm not saying
absolutely
nothing against any of the candidates.
Bread and circuses.
Look up the word politician. It's the art of being shrewd. Shrewd means to deceive. So it's literally means politician. Politics means the art of deception. Literally. Entertainment, just the way government means restrict the mind, limit the mind. Entertainment means to distract the mind. You can look it up. It means to divert, to hold the attention of. Now, what does entertainment do? It distracts us. It holds the attentions of. And for what? To keep us, they don't want us to look at, they don't want us to think. Like stuff like this, they definitely don't want this. They want us sitting here talking about celebrities and other stuff like that.
They want us to be nice.
Yeah.
There's
Maybe
a fun etymology.
they just want us completely inundated with blue light all the time because that's MK Ultraing our brain non-stop.
You guys have the purple streetlights around you?
No.
It's
over there.
That's the one that tells you if you got the thing in you, right? The jab, like it makes your veins glow with the UV.
With the luciferase.
It's amazing to me. Yeah, no, I'm in the Kansas City area, and we've got mostly actually not in the upscale neighborhoods. All the streetlights are regular, but there's a lot of streetlights that are purple.
I have not seen that. I don't think.
I did a video here. I'll find that video I did. I did it like 2 years ago. I like walked down the street. I ended up being really Karen-y because we had two street lights that they turned to purple light bulbs like a block away from me. I didn't like it. So they're saying it's a manufacturer error and that you can call a certain number. And so I kept calling and reporting these two street lights, and they took them out. They didn't replace them with working street lights. They're just both dead now. But yeah, let me find that video.
That's funny.
I did hear about that though. There's a few guys that are like truth warriors, and they post a lot of stuff about that. The lights, the just common sense. When you look at what happened in the last 5 years, right, since 2020, this is beyond a circus or a carnival. You try to talk to somebody. I mean, this is why I call my channel American Zombie, because everybody has a little bit of zombie, whether we're still using certain things that we shouldn't be using, that we should limit, maybe some type of foods that they created disguised as food, but it's really a drug. It's a drug masquerading as a food. they don't want us being natural because what was that Hippocrates thing? Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. Exercise. That's the last thing. We have an epidemic of fakeness. If you look at a bodybuilding show, it's all fake. It's steroids. It's like, and they push that on us. You look at a beauty pageant with makeup on. How can you have a beauty pageant with makeup on? Are you really looking at the person? The same thing with the steroids. So they got it for the men, they got it for the women. And it just pushes it everywhere. There's a guy, it's a group called the Media Education Foundation, Jackson Katz. It's called Tough Guys, GUISE, like a disguise, Tough Guys, and how they try to beat this tough guy type of image into men growing up. And we see it in music. The music, they try to act tough. It's like, you're not tough. You're a musician. It's like, gangsters ain't going to tell you they're a gangster.
Tupac with your little nose ring.
Yeah, and this goes for, I did a few streams on music being a form of mind control. Now I grew up, I have older siblings. My favorite mind control is the 70s music. I was listening to that from my older siblings, and there was a podcast. They're kind of religious, but they brought up, you can learn something from everybody. And they made a good point why we keep hearing these songs from 40, 50 years ago, because they're brainwashing us. They're pounding it in our heads. Now, granted, some songs might make you feel good, but some songs, I think the best ones have a little bit of a message. But you don't need to listen to that message a lot. If you listen to it too much, you ever had a song that you couldn't get out of your head when you were younger? Mm-hmm. That's a clear sign that you've been, they try to stick something in your head and it took days, hours or days to get it out.
It's a mantra.
Yeah. What are they getting past the conscious mind? Because if they hit the subconscious, you don't even know you've been hit. And now you're zombie.
Well, I don't sing along with, I still listen to trash music all the time and I love it, but I don't sing along with it anymore because.
Yeah, I've gotten it down to part of the song. I listen to part of the song and then I'm like, I'm good. I got my fix. And then it weans me off of all of it. I start to say to myself, I don't have time to listen. I mean, sometimes I'll pop on some and yeah, it feels good. Then I realize like, wow, these guys are masters of the universe. They got me in a cage that we all got a key to our cage. And if we don't listen,
I know my rage.
Yeah. You don't listen to them. You go to a cage where you don't got the key. So it's like, I'm happy having the key to my cage, because nobody wants, it's an asylum. This is an
Plato's
asylum.
cave, baby. Plato's cave.
Frank Zappa, he said it best. He said, the illusion will be maintained as long as it's economically feasible. When that ceases to exist, they'll just move the chairs and the tables out of the way and pull back the curtain and you'll see the brick wall. We're seeing the brick wall.
Damn.
Yeah, I remember being at a music festival before I started going down any of these rabbit holes, and Puddle of Mud was playing, and hearing 50,000 people chanting in unison, "She fucking hates me," and just kind of like going, "This is eerie." Something feels like we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I used to listen to one of their songs, and I started thinking to myself, what's this thing really doing to me? Do I, where am I going? I've came close to death a few times. And, that's the real deal. They don't want you to think. It's like we're all on a train heading somewhere and nobody wants to talk about the destination. Everybody want to lie. Oh, it's heaven. And I said, well, what am I going to do in heaven? Play harps and shit, and then they get mad. Right. I'm like, well, then don't ask me the question. I said on a show to some religious people, I said, you want me to debunk hell? I said, innocent people don't go to hell, right? And they said, no, you have to be guilty to go to hell, right? I said, well, you got innocent people suffering here. So this is clearly worse than the hell you're trying to scare me with. You know, right?
That's
It's
a
like
good,
at
okay,
least they
that's
got to
true.
do some shit to go to hell,
Checkmate. That's a
right?
I
You can,
do think humans can create hell on earth regardless. You know?
yeah, and heaven. I think we can create hell and heaven, but it proves to us logically that the hell they try to scare us with is not as bad as the suffering you see here from innocent people that didn't do nothing. So it's like, wait a minute, you know. Alan Watts said it best. He said, if you look at the painting of The Last Judgment, I think by Van Eyck, everybody on the top of the painting in heaven is sitting in rows like the cat that just ate the canary. But in hell, when you look below, it's like snakes and skulls and naked people. It's like, well, who the hell gonna want to be sitting in heaven forever? You at least you're doing some. The unexpected is there, you know. And this fear, every religion has it. You know, even the religion of evolution. You know, guys came on. I had a couple of debates, and they got real mad about that. I said, "Good, great. Don't go away mad. Just go away." You know, they, you know,
I think it's better if they're mad when they leave, though. Well, let's be honest.
Yeah, man.
Sorry to interrupt, but Thresh or Mike, did you guys have anything you wanted to add? Because I know you're both into like old art, you know, old stuff as well. That, and I'm sure you've all seen some weird shit. So, just anything, I don't want to leave you guys out. If there's anything you wanted to say, or that you've even seen yourself, that you've come across, or what he presented.
Yeah, I mean a lot of the stuff he was showing, especially the figurines in Mexico. I've got a giant book full of them, and I probably could show you a lot more examples of similar items, including like the little gold looks like airplanes. I've got one
Yeah.
that, yeah, I can show you some
Sure.
stuff.
I'd like that, man. I got pictures of
Yeah.
some other ones, but they're not good. I didn't take them myself. The ones I showed, I took those pictures, and they're really cool. Like some of the other pictures, like they look like more aerodynamic types of planes, and even maybe like a type of ship, like a spaceship almost, you know. In the ancient Hindu text, the Sanskrit, they say that there's three types of ships. The type that travels between different lands. Then there's a ship that travels between different worlds. And then there's a ship that travels between different stars. So you have three grades. And what do the Egyptians call there? They call it the boat of the sun. Well, if the sun's a star and a boat's a ship, wouldn't that be a starship? It kind of, you know, makes me wonder. I mean, one lady, she had a great theory. She did something with genetics, and she said, according to the orthodox theory, if you look at human genetics, when they try to say the earth is so many billions of years old, that the human genetics, I don't know how she got it, but it was something like 9 billion. She goes, so our genes are older than the planet they're telling us we're on, if it even is a planet, who knows, you know. But the thing is that we are a mystery. If you look at us compared to nature, we're more akin to a domesticated animal, and which opens the question, who domesticated, who or what domesticated us? If we live in nature tribally, yeah, we can live. But when you look at Westerners that encounter tribes like in South America, and the whole tribe will be plagued with ringworm, and they'll give them a medicine and they'll cure it. But, you know, the tribe was enduring for thousands of years, you know. It really shows me that we didn't just develop from chance. Even the mathematics, you know, don't add up for that. To make a protein with, say, 11 amino acids goes into 10 to the 20th. You know, you're looking at beyond 1 trillion. That's just for that. And they're telling me reptiles turned into birds. I'm like, did you ever look at a scale compared to a feather? What needs to be done? And just thinking about a cell, the more we study it, the more intricate it gets. You know, you got more of a chance of a spoon forming than a cell forming. Yeah, I didn't know if Thrash or Michael. Michael, yeah, if you got the pics, I mean, yeah.
Thresh, did you have anything you wanted to comment?
No, I'm all right.
All right. I just
Thank you.
I'll leave you out. Jin, was there anything else that you might have wanted to talk about? Some of the stuff that he showed or anything?
Sure. I thought we'd talk about the Mary stuff. I'm sorry to bring it up so late, but
No,
I think it was really interesting because Teresa said it correctly, like the yoni is the primordial Shakti. It's the primordial feminine force, which of course does actually exist in Catholicism, and not as a goddess, but as Mary herself, as the embodiment of the, of the sort of potentiality of God to be pregnant and with mercy in the world. So, but her hands in the positions that you showed, Max, she was in the generative position. So if you look, her palms were actually facing down, they were hanging lower. They weren't her fingers weren't pointed upwards; they were pointed downwards, which means that she's actually shining her light, if that's what you want to call it, upon the world. It's like a boon giving gesture, as we call it in Tantra. Although it's not exactly the same, it is a similar idea. It's a generative position. So it's an upward facing triangle in the position that you showed. But a yoni is really in the reverse. It's the triangle that points downwards. So there's an interesting iconographical thing that I think a lot of people have noticed, that yes, of course, her robes, even Nick has said in the past, like in her, it's like the outer robe of concealment, the robe of glory. Yeah, exactly. So there's totally that, but then there's also like if she's pregnant or not. It actually relates a lot to Christian Kabbalah and how she would be positioned on the tree, and the different forms would actually take different positions if she was pregnant or not. Like if she was postpartum or pregnant and behind the robe, because she's not always pregnant behind the robe. Sometimes she's not. So there's something really interesting about that too. Sorry.
Would you like me to show it again, or because I hear what you're saying. Like when you said it's her revealing her light to the world. As a heterosexual man, I could think of no greater light to the world, And for a woman, it would be, I guess, a man, to say, okay, we're not the opposite sex, we're the complementary sex. Mm-hmm. We complement one another perfectly. So to me, I would look at that as, that is the light of the world, for lack of a better word, poontang, that's the light of the world, and whether it be your wife, your girlfriend, or just some casual, so I look at it in that way, but I can show it again. I mean, I'm looking at it now, and you have a very good point, but I mean, it just really looks like a fertility, I mean.
No, I think that maybe. No, I agree with you that there is a fertility element, because she's a mother who embodies that quality of maternity and mercy. But I also think that you can make an argument with other iconography that perhaps has a downward facing triangle, and that would be the generative yoni. But where she's pointing her fingers downwards, it looks like an upward facing triangle. So it is she embodies more of a masculine quality in that moment. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it. It could be because her head, with the arms open, the head is in the perfect place representing the clitoris. And what you're saying for the triangle going from the bottom up, that's in the middle picture, the female goddess symbol. But in the Mary statues, the head goes down to the two arms outspread, and then the bottom feet do the same going up. So it's really, instead of just an inverted triangle or an upside down triangle, it looks more like diamond shape. Here, I'll put it up so we can analyze it together. Yeah. It looks more diamond shape in the middle one, like the one that you were saying has the triangle. And I see it clearly, the triangle from the bottom of it going up to the hands. But then as it goes up to the hands, a triangle goes up to where the clitoris would be. And in the statues on the left and the right, I put the picture backstage if anyone wants to look. But it shows, in the statues, it's not as prominent as it is in the middle one. But you notice how the head of the statues goes down to the arm, which could form a triangle in the upper body. And then, like you said, the hands going down could also form a triangle going down. Those two triangles together, I guess, could be formed like a type of a diamond shape, like a linear type of diamond. But then we bring into the picture the different positions of the hands in different statues. So is that just artistic rendition? Is there a reason for that? The bottom right looks like the lips of a vagina that's unstimulated. As it gets stimulated, the hands would open, just like in the sexual genitalia. I'm just saying, you know, I could be, this is just a theory, but I hear what you're saying totally, you know.
Also, Mary is very heavily associated with lilies.
Mhm.
So if you ever looked at a flower,
Mhm.
it also looks very similar to what we're talking about right now.
When I look at all flowers, flowers look like female genitalia, a lot of them,
Yes,
you
yes,
know,
they do.
and they get pollinated, you know.
Mhm.
It just, nature alone, when I look at stuff like that in nature, I say to myself, there's just I don't know what I'm in, you know. It's like, so people, you know, are arguing flat earth around. I'm like, earth, you believe in earth? I'm like, I don't even know what the hell earth is, man. I'm trying to figure this out, you know?
Surrounded by penises and vaginas.
It just, yeah.
Isn't that what space is about? With, you know, big dick rocket ships
Oh,
and
man.
everything.
Yeah, you know, I spent 9 months trying to get out and the rest of my life trying to get back in. It
And
just,
the moon is the feminine, you know, whatever. The feminine aspect.
I
Well,
tell you,
one thing I did want to add when it comes to, I guess, art for Mary. I don't know if this really adds to anything what we're saying right now, but I think it goes a little bit maybe more with what Jim was saying. Is I guess first off with Mary in Catholicism, they're really good at just presenting stuff at a very pleasing to the eyes. But I could say that, in my opinion, I could see Mary being depicted as any feminine energy going down the tree of life. In my opinion, you will see her represent some sort of way in that. So I do find that interesting. That I do think there is many different depictions of Mary in occultism for many different like stories. It's hard to explain, but I don't think her depiction is just one solid thing. Like it's many different times in a timeline. You know, not just one part of the story.
Yeah.
It's the best way I can say it. Like, you know, just for me, I think there's depictions of her before she was able to give birth, after she, you know, when she conceived, after she gave birth, and like even in the Kabbalah in the tree, if you could just go down the tree, that kind of represents like just certain Kabbalistic ideas too.
Mhm. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant when Nick is saying. Yeah,
Like if she's depicted with the sword with seven swords. I mean, that's more like she's more of the Bana kind of at that point. Across from whatever, you know, it's just hard to explain. But certain depictions of her, I do think, stressing different timelines of the feminine energy that created our existence. To mind fuck it even more, to throw everybody off, I think Mary is a depiction of the back of your eyeball.
What?
Yeah, no, that could go in line, and that's, what did I say? Hathor, the
we weren't mind fucked at all until that.
Yeah, I mean, there is like what did I show? The eye of Horus and the similarity to the pineal, the eye inside of the brain. There's so much. Nick might be on point with that. You know, I mean,
yeah, like this is the crazy thing, and how I even think it shows like both sexes needed in the same way, and why the hermaphrodite goes with Toth, because in the back of your eyeball you have the optic nerve, and it hangs down. No lie though, it looks like a flaccid dick hanging in the back of your eye. But you have to go back up it to actually start to convert into electricity and get into your brain. So now technically now you do need to go back up in a hole. You know what I'm saying? But even though it's a dick, looks like a dick. So now you're getting both male and female in there. And the hermaphrodite is associated with Hod, which would be Toth, and Toth is like the hero that takes his journey if you're using the Egyptian pantheon, I guess. But like
I think what you're describing is called sounding. I'm not sure, but I think that is.
Yeah, but like the inner robe of concealment, in my opinion, is going back up the optic nerve, and like again, like it's been depicted as a tent, vagina, and occult symbolism, the optic nerve. So like when you start seeing that with Mary again, and some of the depictions, it just reminds me a lot of back of the eyeball and going back up the optic nerve. That's just the shortest, easiest way I can try to explain something that crazy and that deep right now. Sorry.
It's not even that far fetched. Yeah, I think it's very possible, plausible. The temples in Egypt, they say the whole layout can represent the body. Yeah.
I mean, I also believe Jesus is in your eyeball. So
You got a thing with eyeballs, huh?
yeah. I do.
I wanted to. You had that slide that had it was like the little guy inside the belly of the other one.
In the vehicle.
Yeah. So you showed that was the thing that you showed with. Fuck.
There was like a statue with like a little guy like in his solar plexus, and then you showed like a movie.
Oh yeah, you compared it to the Men in Black.
The Men in Black
is a Mayan.
Yeah.
I also thought of Total Recall because there's like that guy that's like in his stomach. But I wanted to point out that the medicine man, Black Elk, the Lakota medicine man. So during one of his visions, he saw like a little blue man, like a little fish man. And from that point on, anytime he did any kind of medicine work or any time of visions or anything, that little blue man would appear. And he says that it was like he would like swim, like almost like in his like solar plexus and stuff. And he would always appear like in, like he would take like a cup and like scry into the water, and that little blue fish man would always appear. And that slide kind of reminded me of.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now. Figures. Now that I'm looking for it, I'll probably never find it. But I know which one you're talking about.
There's another mask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's another mask like that I have down there where the inside of the mask is a little person like that. And the outside of the mask is a regular like death mask. But if you flip the inside of it, it has a little guy that looks just like that. Like the Men in Black. You know what I mean?
Monstrous.
But they got that, that's what the xenomorph on Alien has the mouth inside the mouth, and actually also has the solar plexus thing.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Fun fact: you talked about the xenomorph. Were you talking about aliens?
Fuck yeah, I'm talking about aliens.
Yeah, all right. So that guy actually was an occultist, and he was huge into Thelema and Crowley's stuff. And a lot of his shit actually is depictions of the fucking brain. Those aliens are different stages.
I thought you were going to say the eyeball.
No, sorry. I wish.
Best movie monster of all time.
Oh yeah, I loved Aliens as a kid. I thought that shit was
me too. It's still the best. Like I'm still getting a little bit excited talking about it.
You know, to tell you the truth, that's probably one of the only like things like that. Like, all right, my opinion, like Jason and Freddy, Michael Myers, they never really scared me. It was just like more of like entertaining or like weird. Like Aliens actually kind of creeped me out as a kid. Like I thought that shit was fucking wild.
Yeah, well, my introduction, my grandpa for Christmas got me an Alien action figure like before I had any clue what it was. And I remember like getting this toy and I'm like, whoa, this is scary. This is dope. It was over from then on.
That's awesome. That's sorry, go ahead.
You know, Dorney in the chat, I haven't seen the new one. My girlfriend and I were flipping through and I saw it on whatever team we were, Netflix, whatever. And I'm like, oh, the new Aliens. And she's like, click. So we broke up.
Actually, I do want to check out the new one. I gotta see if I can find it online.
I liked Resurrection. I don't care what anybody says.
Is that the Romulus, the new one?
Yeah.
I saw it. Yeah. It was.
What do you think about it?
It was. There was one part out of the whole movie that was okay, but it's like a conglomeration of all the previous movies, like the scenes of when it's like get away from her, when Ripley was in the machine, the loading machine, and she told the alien to get away from her in part 2, the little girl, like she said, get away from her, you bitch. And the robot that's played by the black guy tells the alien to get away from the girl, like that, like get away from her, so they take parts from part 2 and part 1 and they put them in different scenarios, like kind of like how they took the Planet of the Apes, and instead of Charlton Heston saying, get your dirty hands off me, get your hands off me, you dirty ape, they have the ape telling that to the human in the one where Mark Wahlberg plays in. This was before the
so you're saying it does a lot of referencing.
Yeah, and kind of really, it's like, hey, if something works, why change the model to brainwash? I mean, you got these things capture the mind. If you watch a movie without your mental shields up, the movie can get like the song and reoccur in your head. And the word for fan is a short word for the word fanatic. Mm-hmm. So when they say, I like a lot of movies, I like, but I guess I see them through a different lens now, and I start to say, wow, somebody was trying to say something. The Matrix probably being the most prominent one recently. But when you look at Gattaca, I mean, Gattaca is a deep movie without a special effect in sight. You look through the movie and you say, man, this is what we're living in. Movies like They Live, that, the lady's like, we've got one that can see, movies like The Believers with Martin Sheen that came out 1 year before They Live, which is almost invisible now because it was about people sacrificing their kids to get power. They don't want that out there. In a movie acting with Martin Sheen, the movie Revolver with Ray Liotta, practically unknown, released in Britain in 2005. It didn't get released here till 2008 and only aired in 18 theaters. The movie Revolver is how to control your ego. And it had Ray Liotta, had the guy from The Transporter, had the rapper Andre 3000. It had Pussy from The Sopranos. So it had big actors in it. So it showed me that anything that gets a person to think, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, when it was made in the 50s, that was remade in the 70s with Donald Sutherland. Then it was remade in the 90s. And at the end of all 3 of those, the person was like in disarray, like, oh my goodness, they're coming, the zombies, right? So it ends like that. When they remade it with Nicole Kidman in 2007, magically the cure to the zombies, the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, was a jab. Some scientists developed the cure, just like in I Am Legend. Wasn't the cure the thing that made the zombies in I Am Legend?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a lot we can learn by looking at this, because of course we're not the same person we were when we were 15 or 25 even. But we can also see that we weren't the same person at 25 that we were at 15. So
I haven't changed that much since 15.
I hear you.
Actually, yeah. Well, to tell you the truth, though, if I think about like when I was 15 and now, it's like probably in between was actually the worst. So maybe going back to 15 might be an improvement.
Oh yeah, 15 is better than like 28 or something.
Yeah.
That shit was rough.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Was there anything else anybody wanted to say on the show, or Ed? Maybe we'll start wrapping it up soon. All right. Max, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate that. That's what's up. You brought the slides. I always appreciate slides. Always like that stuff. The visuals always help. Taylor, thank you for jumping on, man. I really appreciate it. Hell yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll have you on more often. Real quick, we got Teresa from the Spiritual Gangsters. She has her own show. Links for that is in the bottom. Jin the Ninja, he was here with us. He has his own show, Threshold Saints. His links are in the bottom. And Mike and Crash, they don't have any links, so there's nothing in the bottom. And Max, I do have your stuff as well. You want to let everybody know though, again, real quick, where they can find your stuff, please.
Sure. And thank you for having me, man. This was great.
Yeah.
They can type in American Zombie Channel on YouTube. I should pop up. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but it should. American Zombie Channel. I
got an eyeball logo and like 4,000 subs.
Yeah, eyeball. Yeah, 4,000. It just, just working on the book every day, hopefully, because the content I'm doing now is just commentary on, stuff in the society and stuff like that. They're conditioning me. They're conditioning me on what to produce, because I'm always wondering, are they going to allow this to stay up, or, it's crazy. So we're working on a website that will be linked maybe to the YouTube, and then, in case of emergency, we can get a little more raw on there, maybe talk about banned books and stuff like that. I mean, I don't see why people wouldn't be interested in banned books. Just the fact that it's banned. It's like,
Well, books that were banned at one point, maybe not anymore. There's still an interesting reason why,
Yeah, I think if you go to take out the Anarchist Cookbook, you go on the list right away, the FBI list. Yeah, Anarchist Cookbook. That guy, they must have did something to him where he came out and said, please, I made a mistake writing that. And, there are some that I think the real banned books that we never even get to see them. We don't even know the titles,
Or we do know the titles and never even think about them. Right.
Yeah, it's the difference between 1984 and Brave New World. In 1984, they burned books. So you might say, you know what are they burning? I'm curious. Brave New World says no. You have to create an environment where nobody would ever want to read a book. Now you can write anything. You have no fear. And that's what we're
definitely more Brave New World.
Yeah, we're straight.
And people love it that way.
Oh, yeah. I have to admit, I'm part zombie on that. Part American Zombie, there's no doubt. But I'm fighting for my mind every day.
You carrying any water yet?
The what?
Carry any buckets of water from the river yet?
Man, I'm on the pipe, man. I just turned the pipe on. I might fill a bottle or two, and that's it.
That's how they get you.
Go fishing with your hands today, or a spear? Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you all again, and thank you everybody in the chat. That's what's up. We had a lot of people from FlowState too chatting it up. Thank you, I appreciate that. That was really cool, and saw a lot of usual faces as well for the chat. That's why I do it. I appreciate it. I had a great show, and I appreciate everybody coming on tonight. That was a lot of people to get on at once. That's what's up. You all made it, and until the next one, everybody be well. Later.